Good day folks, this is Chris Teron again from TradeTaxPlus. The first video dealing with technical topics in September deals with the issue of can you use the VDP for outstanding VAT returns specifically. Now we get this question quite often from our members and from our subscribers. Quite a challenging issue. On the one side, you want to use the VDP to avoid penalties, and specifically understatement penalties. But now you can also get relief for late payment penalties, the 10% penalty. But is it available? That's the issue. Now SARS takes a view, and they have taken a formal view, that it's not voluntary. So to use the VDP, it must be a voluntary disclosure, and SARS has taken the view that it's not voluntary. So if you have to register, it's a compulsory registration, the voluntary issue falls by the wayside. So from the point of view of a person that is not registered, you can argue that it is voluntary, having come forward and made the information available to SARS. From that perspective, it is voluntary, and therefore you should be able to use the VDP. But SARS will take an administrative decision, and that decision will be to not allow you to use it. Now, the only way to challenge that decision is through PAJA, because the VAT Act specifically does not make that decision subject to objection and appeal. So you can't go through the normal objection and appeal processes. Not being able to go to that process, you have to go straight into a review process where SARS's decision has to be taken on review. That's a very, very expensive process, and you may not want to get yourself into that position. Let's assume you do not take that position. What is the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is you put your VAT returns in, you pay your VAT based on the VAT returns that's gone in, you will get a 10% penalty and you will get interest. But interest will always be payable, so that's not an additional cost. So the only issue really is 10%. You will not get an understatement penalty because you haven't understated anything. You can only understate something once you've put a return in and then subsequently that return turns out to be deficient. In this case, that's not the case. So it's only the 10%. That's the only issue that we need to consider. Now, you'll have good grounds to argue that 10% must be waived in any event. So whether you want to go the entire route of going to court and have this decision reviewed, whether that makes commercial sense, that's really what you have to ask yourself. If a small amount is involved, you never want to go that route. If the amount is very significant, maybe it is worthwhile taking that on review. If you are already registered, well, you can't, because then it isn't voluntary. Then SARS knows that return is outstanding on their system. It shows it's outstanding, and you can't volunteer the information that you now want to voluntarily submit your late return. It is simply a late return, and the VDP is not available under those circumstances. I trust that makes sense and clarifies the situation a little bit. From me, Chris Teron, checking out for TradeTaxPlus.